Mort, your host on Change Your Voice, Change Your Life, subtitled My Life Among the Aborigines. Where does one get a title such as that? My Life Among the Aborigines? I'll explain it to you, and you may laugh, and you may cry. Today we live in a world where the medical profession is honored and respected, and well, it might be. But there are certain areas in medicine I find are dated back to the Dark Ages, if not the Stone Ages. One of those areas is a condition called spasmodic dysphonia. I've just completed a book called Curing Hopeless Voices, which involves spasmodic dysphonia, the strangled voice. Unfortunately, I'm the only doctor in the world reporting cures of this condition. Have been reporting cures for 35 years. My medical colleagues and my academic associates insist, one and all, there are no cures of spasmodic dysphonia. They indicate that it's incurable, and when you are diagnosed with the problem, you can't talk, your eyes are spasming, your face may be spasming, your throat muscles may be spasming, you may have back problems associated with this condition. And the problem is when you talk, it's a monster voice. It's off-putting. The medical community, medical profession worldwide guarantees there are no cures of spasmodic dysphonia. They tell you that when you are diagnosed with the condition. They have guarantees on their websites, Johns Hopkins, Vanderbilt, Wake Forest, UCLA, you name it. One and all in this country and around the world, saying there are no cures of the condition. It's hopeless. It's incurable. That's not true. The fact is, there are cures of the condition. But they in the medical community believe, because they don't have a single cure, ever, of the strangled voice, medically called spasmodic dysphonia, that there cannot be a cure. That's, of course, a little arrogant and might be called chutzpah on their part. But they all subscribe to that view that there are no cures of spasmodic dysphonia. And if you're diagnosed with the condition, you're told, live with it or get Botox or have surgery or speech therapy. None of these approaches report a single cure ever of spasmodic dysphonia. Join with me. There's a medical model, and the medical model says that spasmodic dysphonia is a neurological problem today. Traub first described the condition as nervous hoarseness in 1871. It is nervous hoarseness. When you try it. If you're not nervous when you use that voice, you will become quite taken from people's reaction to you as they see your eyes spasming, your neck tightening, your voice losing control. It's a voice out of control. And so people are off-putting because you see their reaction and you respond to it. My colleagues in the medical world and academia, I find are well-intentioned, compassionate, decent, but they adhere to a paradigm, a concept, a theory, that the condition called spasmodic dysphonia is medical and incurable. The condition is not medical, and the condition is curable. I've been reporting cures and have peer review of the cures way back in 1980. I have a DVD which indicates before and after cures of spasmodic dysphonia. Patients giving up the right of privacy and confidentiality to tell how they've been cured of their so-called incurable voice problem. And I've been privileged to report there are cures of this condition. But the medical community refuses to allow discussion in today. The academic world, of which I'm a part of, I'm a PhD in voice rehabilitation expert in the area. I served on the staff and faculty at UCLA Medical Center for 8 years and ran their voice and speech clinic, and Dr. Jack Pressman, the chairman, then said I was the best he had ever known. Lee Travis, one of the 5 founders of the American Speech and Hearing Association, said I'm the best in the voice business. It's very kind of them. But I report cures of so-called hopeless voice problems, not only of spasmodic dysphonia, but unilateral cord paralysis, pre-malignancies, bad raspy voices. I do it all naturally. It may be stepping on the toes of those who give Botox shots, 4 to 10 Botox shots a year for spasmodic dysphonia, at a fee of maybe $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 or $4,000, and it's a lifetime annuity and a full-time employment, I say. Do I live in a world of Aborigines, whether they're in academia or the medical world? I sometimes fear I am in that world. We have progressed greatly in various things that we've done in this world. But in the treatment of our voices, we seem taken with medicalization. Medicalization, making voices a disease. Lynn Payer wrote a book, she wrote for the New York Times, called Disease Mongers. And I find that Lynn Payer is right there, up front, accurate. We have made our voices into diseases. The compliments of the medical community, ear, nose, and throat doctors, and neurologists today. From Traub's first characterization of spasmodic dysphonia as nervous hoarseness in 1871, for 90 years it was treated psychiatrically. Not one single cure, ever. The psychiatric literature is filled with all kinds of explanations, and the explanations are all theoretical. They don't have a single cure. In 1960, a study came out by Roe, Brumlick, and Moore, and it said that the problem they believe, but didn't document, was neurological. They've medicalized our voices, whether it's psychiatric or neurological, and both are inappropriate. The cause of spasmodic dysphonia and the cause of bad raspy voices are essentially because we talk incorrectly. We talk inappropriately. We have no training on the speaking voice. And after puberty, we use whatever voice comes out of our mouth, and we believe that's our voice. That's not true. Nature plays a dirty trick on us after puberty. We imitate our fathers, our mothers, our sisters, our brothers, our teachers, who don't have any training on the speaking voice and have very inadequate, inappropriate voices. And then we wonder why our voices fail. It's like getting into a car and driving the car without a single lesson or a role model to tell us how to drive that car. But we drive our voices as though the voices are just there, right, after puberty. The girl becomes a woman, the boy becomes a man, the child becomes an adult, but the voice does not give us who we are. And we use those voices until we run the voices into the ground, and we create bad, raspy, and strangled voices. The strangled voices are due to the way we talk, not to medical causes, not to medical problems, not to neurological or dystonia theories, which the medical community and the profession firmly believes in. And they're well-intentioned, they're compassionate, but there's an expression. the road to hell is paved with good intentions. The medical community today, when you go to your physician and they diagnose spasmodic dysphonia, they tell you it's incurable. You can't beat it. That's nonsense. They tell you it's neurological. They tell you it's gene-related. They tell you it's chemical imbalance. They tell you this, they tell you that, they tell you everything. And they in the medical community never, ever report a single cure of spasmodic dysphonia around the world. So how can one PhD, an expert in voice, continue to report ongoing cures for 35 years, documented cures, cases diagnosed at UCLA Medical Center by the top, the best, the chair people, Dr. Paul Ward, Dr. Gerald Burke now, the staff of the ear, nose, and throat doctors who are gifted, highly competent, who diagnose and document spasmodic dysphonia. How can I cure those conditions? At least 15 of those cases diagnosed, I have been able to cure and document. It's in the book that just came out, calling Curing Hopeless Voices, the Strangled Voice Spasmodic Dysphonia. Talks about so-called other hopeless voice problems. The book will be in the library shortly. Until then, you can get a free copy if you have spasmodic dysphonia. Come to my office. There's a DVD which talks about before and after cures of this condition by patients who give up the right of privacy and confidentiality to tell the public and to tell the medical world that there are cures of it, and they have experienced cures. They come from UCLA Medical Center, they come from Scripps, they come from Mayo, and the top medical centers in the country. Yet my colleagues in medicine, and they are my colleagues, and my colleagues in academia, and they are my colleagues, do not give hope to any of these people for a possible cure. They in academia and they in the medical profession guarantee in writing, they guarantee in writing that there are no cures. And so when you're diagnosed with this condition called spasmodic dysphonia, which Robert Kennedy Jr. has, Diane Rehm, and so forth, you are guaranteed there are no cures. I report cures of spasmodic dysphonia ongoing, documented. 15 cures alone at UCLA Medical Center. I'm in private practice now. And I report these cures because spasmodic dysphonia is not a medical problem. It has never been a medical problem. That's why the medical community cannot report a single cure ever in 135 years, dating back to Traub, who first described spasmodic dysphonia as nervous hoarseness. If you have the strangled voice, it looks like you're stuttering, it looks like you're having a stroke, it looks like you're not with us, and not be nervous when you're talking that way, then you're not among the living. My colleagues in the medical world and in academia strike me as arrogant, guaranteeing there are no cures in the face of ongoing cures of this condition. Now, they have a Full Employment Act, those who do give the Botox shots. They're limited in number. There are 14,300 ear, nose, and throat doctors, and my estimate is maybe 200 of them give Botox shots in medical centers and private practice. They earn $1,000 to $2,000 to $3,000 to $4,000 a Botox shot, 4 to 10 times a year. And the outcomes I indicate in my book, Curing Hopeless Voice Problems. The outcomes are frightening at times. You lose your voice for a period of time. You have no awareness of the long-term downside effects on the body. And The outcomes are variable. One shot may be of assistance to you, another, just you lose your voice. I talk about that in the book. The medical community say it's the state of the art in the treatment of choice. And I ask my medical colleagues, the treatment of choice for whom? For whom? For the people suffering the condition? They do not give choice to their patients. That's where I find fault with them. Not their treatment, but that they deny in the face of ongoing cures of this condition by what I do call direct voice rehabilitation, that there can be cures. And these are documented cures. These are peer-reviewed cures. Why do they deny cures in the face of peer review and cures? In the face of a DVD, a VHS with cures of spasmodic dysphonia, diagnosed by the top medical doctors in the field of ear, nose, and throat and neurology. Why? Is it money? Is it paradigm? Is it ego? Possibly all and more. If the medical community has never reported a single cure, or academia, not a single cure, save for myself, it has egg on the face of those who say they have been wrong. But we do err at times, all of us. The medical community itself. In 1345, the Black Plague, it was believed to be due to the rats. For 550 years, it was believed to be unknown cause. Two medical doctors on a Louis Pasteur Institute, right at the close of the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century, found it was due to the rats. 25 million people died in Europe in 1345 and shortly thereafter, and the plague continued for 550 years. Medicine sometimes is on the wrong side of things. It is the best of defenses and the best of approaches to maintaining our health. But they are wrong at times. Prefrontal lobotomies came and went, 35 years honored, and then in disgrace. Dr. Pangloss in Voltaire's Candide, standing before a pile of dismembered bodies, said, "But is this not the best of all possible worlds?" Voltaire's cutting sarcasm and satire spoke of it all. There are those, whether they're in medicine or academia, who maintain the farce, if not the circus, that there are no cures of spasmodic dysphonia, when there are. The reason there are cures of spasmodic dysphonia, not in the medical world, is because spasmodic dysphonia is not a medical problem, despite their various theories. The medical community has various theories. It's a dystonia, it's a neurological cause, it's a chemical imbalance, it's acid reflux, that's current today. That it's a disease, a genetic problem, and the list goes on and on and on and on. There's only one problem with the theories. Not one of them ever produced a single cure of spasmodic dysphonia, ever. And so my medical colleagues, I believe with arrogance, maintain that there cannot be cures of spasmodic dysphonia because they, in the medical community, do not have a single cure. Perhaps they might consider the fact they're on the wrong road and they have the wrong paradigm. That spasmodic dysphonia is not a medical problem, never was, and that's why they don't have a single cure. And perhaps they should follow the dictum, the Hippocratic oath they take, do no harm and natural healing. To inject Botox into the vocal cords, ongoing, for life, 4 to 10 times a year may be doing harm. Nobody knows the long-term downside effects on the body. Nobody. Botox is bo for botulinum, and tox for toxin. It's a sweet-smelling sound, candy-like. Have you been Botoxed? My book, Curing Hopeless Voices, tells about the presentation, the beginning of Botox for the treatment of spasmodic dysphonia. It tells you how those in the drug field have attempted to make spasmodic dysphonia incurable, and that you take it for life. They guarantee there are no cures in the medical profession, in my field, academia, though I report cures covering a period of 30 years in the American Speech Hearing Language Association. And they cover it up. They cover up cures. Officially, they are now maintaining there are no cures of spasmodic dysphonia, officially, and say Botox is a treatment of choice in the state of the art. The question, of course, is state of the art in the treatment of choice for whom? If you're making $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a Botox shot 4 to 10 times a year, and there are maybe 200 of you, or 14,300, could it be possible that there's self-interest at work? I doubt it. I think they're the best intended physicians. They want to help. But to conclude that there are no cures in the face of ongoing cures, that's inappropriate. That's unfair. Those diagnosed with spasmodic dysphonia are said to have a high suicide rate. If you talk like that, and when you talk with friends and associates, colleagues, and others, and you cannot talk, how long do you want to continue with that means of communication? It's devastating on the soul, it's devastating on the heart, it's devastating on careers. I see all too many of the people treated by Botox as surgery, and I'm not taken with the outcome. There are no cures that I know of. No cures are reported by the medical community or by academia. But they do not allow cures to be given as a choice of treatment. That's where I fault them. Choice. They would want choice for their family, as others I've worked with, some in the medical world, and get a cure by what I do, called direct voice rehabilitation. Am I living in a world of Aborigines? My life among the Aborigines in the medical world? Or will they come of age? They believe they have come of age, and they maintain that Botox is a state-of-the-art in treatment of choice, and surgery they value, but they cannot report a single cure, and they have serious side effects, often enough to warrant concern, deep, deep concern. If you have Botox for your strangled voice, can you report that it's the state-of-the-art in the treatment of choice? Do you feel the outcome is what you have in mind? Or do you believe that they tell you it's the state-of-the-art in treatment of choice, but it isn't so for you? And you're denied choice of treatment. That's where I fault them. Not that they maintain what they're doing is medically right or academically right, but the lack of choice. Why won't the medical profession, why won't the academic world, of which I am part of, and the medical world, give you a chance and a choice for your treatment of spasmodic dysphonia? I report cures. The medical world guarantees there are no cures. They report there are no cures, and they guarantee it on their medical websites, from their academic websites across the world. Something is not right. How can I report cures when they say there are no cures, because they have a paradigm, a theory, that's wrong. In 1345, the Black Plague came, and it took 550 years before the medical world became educated to the fact that the Black Plague was due to rats, a disease. Spasmodic dysphonia is not a disease. It never has been a disease. It's never been a dystonia, never been a neurological problem. That is why I can report cures of spasmodic dysphonia by direct voice rehabilitation. The book that just came out has taken a period of time for me to write with a colleague of mine, Dr. John Curtis. And it is telling of the problems from Botox, from surgery, from speech therapy. None of these approaches ever report a single cure. Never. And my view is if you have spasmodic dysphonia, ask your doctor why he doesn't talk about cures when the cures are all there, right before your eyes and your ears, in a DVD, right before your eyes. You can read about the cures, and you can know there is hope for hopeless voices, that you're not hopeless. Spasmodic dysphonia is curable. The high suicide rate that I understand occurs for those who have spasmodic dysphonia needn't be. Would you want a choice if you're told you have spasmodic dysphonia, that there is hope for hopeless voices and cures by non-intervention called direct voice rehabilitation, or do you want to believe your physician and your academician, your speech therapist, that never reports a single cure? I'm Mort Cooper. My life among the Aborigines. You decide. Bye-bye.